So we'll move swiftly on because I've already made us late. And for the oldies, you might remember some of this. And for the newbies, it's, what is that? Oh yeah, that's okay, good. I don't do windows. Not this one anyway. Right. So, it is our 15th birthday. There's a lot going on this year as well. So do have a look at the tables and things like that, because you never know what you might get signed up for. So I thought I'd just run through what we've been up to over 15 years. And I have to say, I left this to the real last minute, and I really struggled. There was like slide after slide, and I was getting, there was such a long list of stuff that I could have put on here. So in actual fact, what I've done is just selected a few things that happened each year over the last 15 years. So here's your little history lesson. Oh, it does work. So this is a lovely picture of Emily and Liz, who sadly couldn't be here today. And this was actually when they were in Canada in 2002. So this is just slightly before. And they went over, they've just recently diagnosed with MEN1, and they went over to Canada to meet the MEN Society Canada, as it was known then, and Kathy Fitch Macmillan, who ran the society. And they went over to, I guess, learn more about their disease, but also to investigate setting up a charity, which is what they did in 2003. We became a registered charity, and we had our first information day, 20 odd people, that was it, 20 people. Ruth, there you are. Yep. Just waving at myself. There's me. And various other people, and my mother, and Emily's there and everything, and Liz is on the end there. So that was the very first one, and that was Professor Raj Thacker from Oxford came along to that with his wife and his then very young daughter, who I remember just sitting on a doorstep revising. She's now a doctor at Imperial, so times have moved on. The initial thing that we did is we started a Telebuddy project, so we made ourselves available for people to call. And we started planning what we would do, so that included writing information for patients because there just was nothing in those days, nothing at all. And we also went along to the first medical meetings. So we've always been very welcome at the British Endocrine Society meeting every year since. So it's not on all the slides, but every single year since we've been at the British Endocrine Society meeting. And also the surgical meeting as well, always been very welcome there. And various other medical conferences in the UK, we've been very, very well looked after. So 2004, our first, I don't know if anyone remembers the first leaflets, they really were quite bad, but that was all we could do in those days. And the Round Table in Tunbridge Wells agreed to print them for us. There was a printer who did them all for us. And Professor Raj Thacker helped us to recruit a kind of geographical spread of medical advisory team members, most of whom are still actually medical advisory team members, including Caroline Brain here from Great Ormond Street, who's going to wave. And we actually began writing the information booklets, which I remember my kids going on swimming lessons, and I would be sitting up in the balcony sort of watching them, but actually just writing. And in 2005, they were ready, and we launched them, and they looked like this, really weird. And we also had a brand new website, which also looks really, really clunky now as well. We look back at it, it's scary. But actually, it was life-changing, I think, for a lot of people in 2005. So in 2006, I was quite surprised to learn that was when I first started going to University College London to talk to second-year medical students. I didn't realise it was that long that I've been going, because I've been going every year since, once or twice in March to go and talk to medical students, and it's one of my favourite things to do every year. And they're such a increasingly young bunch of people, so obviously I'm getting older, but incredibly intelligent and really makes me hopeful as well for the future. It's nice to see the up-and-coming doctors of the future, and for them to take away the seed of the thought that actually maybe this common symptom might be related to something a little bit more unusual, and that's really worthwhile trying to do. Janet is my mother, who many of you have met over the years probably, and she decided she was travelling somewhere that year, and she thought, well, I know there's quite a few members in that area. She was membership secretary of AMEND. So she decided to call everyone up and say, I'm going to be up your way. And that was how the local area meetings really got started. We joined, they're not called GIG anymore, Genetic Interest Group they were. They're now Genetic Alliance UK. But we joined a project. We really stretched ourselves in 2006, I think. And thanks to donations and grants that started coming in from the Horton Dunn Charitable Trust, who've supported us ever since, we set up a Young Investigator Award, which is still running, and we award a prize to the best abstract at the Society for Endocrinology meeting every year. And some of those winners have been and actually presented their work here. So 2007, Professor Thacker stepped down from the trustee board. He's a very busy man. And he became a patron. But actually, he's still on the medical advisory team. We still work with him an awful lot, actually, including at the moment on some research and the research registry for MEN1. We did our first member survey. I'm not quite sure why I put that on there. It's really not that interesting, but there we are. And we actually developed our first film, which was advertised in the newsletter like this: a tale of courage in the face of adversity and a sheer determination, a tale of lost parathyroids and of pure inspiration, a tale of MEN1, starring Emily, Liz, Ruth I think was even in it as well, Terry Green, and we had a lot of our medical advisors as well who were there, and I'm sure most of you have probably seen that. It's still lurking around on the internet. So that was launched then. And by 2007, we had what we thought was absolutely incredible, 154 members. Yay! That was really cool. And I should also mention that the film was made possible by Terry Green, who is he used to work for the BBC. He's now freelance. He's a cameraman.
No, sorry, it wasn't Terry Green.
Sorry, Terry Green. You're right. How did I get that wrong? Andy Smith. Sorry, Andy. Andy Smith, who did these films and sort of produced them as well. So he did a fantastic job. Right, 2008, we went to Scotland. Just in case people think we never go to Scotland, we went to Scotland. We did. It was lovely, actually, and we had a wonderful social event afterwards. We went on the ghost tour around Edinburgh, and it was hilarious, especially with the kids. Very good fun. We were still filming and going off on wonderful locations, actually even to Scotland, so we went to Scotland again to do our MEN2 film. We launched the Julia Dunn Fund for Endocrine Nurses, again thanks to the Horton Dunn Charitable Trust. And we listened to a presentation in London. This was a slightly strange one, but we listened to a presentation from Dr. John Sotos, who was an advisor. He's a cardiologist, and he was an advisor on an American medical drama. And House, that's right, yes. My favourite. And he had a theory that President Lincoln had MEN2B. Well, it's never been proven yet. He can't get hold of any DNA, I don't think. So, 2009, we did a lot of launching. No ships, but we launched the counselling service. That was Karen Langrick was our first counsellor. And the MEN passports were launched, and this is my son as he was then. So cute. So enthusiastic. And then the actual AMEND research registry was also launched. So we started collecting a lot more sort of patient information, medical details, and so on and so forth. And because of the upcoming general data protection regulations that are coming in, we are no longer doing that. So what will happen is we are collecting contact details, and if something comes in, we will contact you because you have MEN1 or MEN2 or SCH or ACC. Simple as that, and you decide if it applies to you or not. So things are changing a little bit there, and life is a little bit simpler for us doing that as well, has to be said. So 2010, we moved into our first office, which was actually on the second floor of this building, and there is no lift. So you can imagine when we're carting all this stuff around, it's quite difficult, but it keeps us fit. And then we've moved twice within the same building. So we now have the office, which is just in here. That's our air conditioner. We're the only one in the building with an air conditioner. And this is our actual office now. It looks very tidy there, and it doesn't look like that anymore. It's really messy now, and it's my fault. Right, 2010, we went over to MD Anderson by invitation because they held a patient information event, and there wasn't really much going on in America at that point. So we went over and presented what we've been up to, which went down very well. And we actually have quite a few American members as well who like the stuff that we do. So that's quite a compliment. And we do have a sister organisation now in America, AMEND USA. And I think it's starting to kind of get going again, and things are starting to happen. And that was where the rebrand came in. We went big, we went bold, and we went quite simple. One of the reasons was it's just a lot cheaper to print this than it is to print 3 colours. So that was the primary reason for that. 2011 now, we got a award from Big Lottery. It was 10 grand, something like that. But that meant that was quite big stuff in those days. So we launched the road shows, and that meant that we had funding to do the local area meetings around the UK, which I think went down well for a while. So that was good. And the film for MEN2 was launched, which incorporates MEN2A and B, and is it's a very interesting film, that one. I'm in it. And I went to Japan, and as you can see, I was the tallest person dressed in a yukata or as a geisha. It was fantastic. I went to speak at the Japanese Genetics Society, and while we were there, I met Minako here, who is one of the volunteers. She's got MEN2, and she's one of the volunteers for the Japanese group Makuru Jinokai. And we still keep in contact with Facebook buddies, you know. Right, 2012, our 3rd generation website was launched, and I haven't put a picture up there because I didn't really like it. So we had our first Black and Gold charity ball, which was brilliant fun. It was hilarious. Lots of very strange photographs came out of that one, and it was just a good laugh. We had a good bash. We're holding another one this September, and you can buy tickets here today as well on the merchandise stall there. That's 22nd of September, I think that is, and that will be, again, I'm sure, guaranteed to be a lot of fun. And this was the year when we got a massive Big Lottery win. We were very, very lucky, and we worked really, really hard. I mean, there are so many pages you have to fill in to these applications. And it was for Project Superhero, which was to develop information resources for kids. So this was where the comic books came from, and the wonderful cartoons that you can find as well for the kids. And it was another big year as well, because we trekked 120 kilometres in the Sahara Desert, and Marion's at the back grinning because she came as well. And it was a tough one, but as you can see, we're all smiling at the end because we made it. And the worst thing that happened at this point was that we got drooled on by a camel. They really were a bit stinky. But a huge sense of achievement, I think, all of us experienced from doing this trek. And I'd love to go back and do it again, but it seems a bit samey. So 2013 now, this was actually when we really launched social media. So we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. I'm getting better with Twitter. We're sort of on Instagram, but it's a bit like me and Twitter 3 years ago. It's kind of not quite happening yet, but I'm sure it will. Kim Winter, who is down here at the front, will be speaking shortly. She joined us in 2013 as our counsellor and has done some fantastic work since as well. We joined the International Neuroendocrine Cancer Alliance along with several other groups, and that's been quite useful for international networking, finding out what's going on, particularly for MEN1, but also trying to persuade INCA and the wider NET community that actually MEN2 tumours are NETs as well. That's a bit of a slog, but there we go. We're still working on that. And that's when we were asked actually by Radu Mihai from Oxford to adopt adrenal cortical cancer because there was nothing for these patients at that time. And, we gladly did that. That's not worked. Okay. 2014. I didn't skip a year there, did I? No. So this was when Project Superhero kind of came to a close, and we developed the comic books and the cartoons. We had another black and gold ball down in Bristol. That was, again, a lot of fun. The European MEN Alliance started coming together, and there'd been talk about this for several years, and it was really the German groups that really drove this in the end and to where it is now. We changed our charitable structure, so we became a charitable incorporated organisation. It doesn't really mean much at all to anybody. Even I forget why we did that, but there are good reasons, I'm sure. And we managed to recruit Helen as well, thank goodness, because I was getting a bit spare in the office there after 6 months on my own. I was talking to myself and everything. 2015, some fantastic fundraising was done. Sadly, because one of our MEN2 film stars, Chris Murray, had died the year before from MTC. And all his friends and family did so much fundraising and still continue to do so, that in 2015 we were able to give away £40,000 of research grants. And one of those actually went to the Francis Crick Institute, and Raki, who's going to wave now over there, is here from the Francis Crick Institute. If you want to, if you've got MEN2 or MTC and you want to talk to Raki during the day about the research that is ongoing there, even from 2015, then please do. They're working very hard on some new therapies, hopefully, for MTC. And we did a couple of presentations at the BES. I think Kim did one, and I did another one, and tried to teach some endocrinologists Elvish, I think it was,
Something like that.
to try and explain how difficult it is for patients to understand medical abstracts and so on. And we were delighted that the kids' cartoons received a highly commended award from the British Medical Association then as well. Nearly there. 2016. Sean Williamson, who some may remember, probably the older people in the audience will remember from EastEnders. Barry still gets called Barry. I'm not convinced he likes that, but he becomes a celebrity patron, and hopefully will be doing some bits and bobs for us over the next few years. ACC support kind of came into its own a little bit, and I went to the NSAT meeting, which is the big scientific meeting for adrenal tumours, which includes ACC, up in Birmingham in 2016. And we were fortunate enough to be able to invite the patients along, all our members, and to have our own sort of parallel session going on as well, which was a first, and I think went down really well. Yeah, I see you nodding. And we participated also in World MEN 2016. This is something that happens every 2 years, and again, it's another scientific session, but that year in Utrecht was different. So again, it evolved slightly, and the patient group in the Netherlands got very involved and wanted to do a parallel patient information stream. So that was fantastic. It was a shame that, I think it was basically you and I, wasn't it, Jill, who managed to get there from the UK. But there were a lot of patients there, and we gave a couple of presentations at that as well. So by 2017, we had 1,323 members. So now the average sign-up per year is the same as our total membership way back, 150 odd, which is quite phenomenal. It's going to drop this year because of the General Data Protection Regulation rules and so on. We're having to ask people to re-register. So if you haven't done it, please do it by the 25th of May, otherwise you're going to be struck off. We started work on the European European reference networks. So the first one we joined was the rare solid adult cancers. So this one includes adrenal cortical cancer and metastatic MTC, that sort of thing. It's a little bit different from the other one. And that's just hoping to really share expertise across European nations and further. So this is why we're involved in this. And that was the first year, last year, that we included ACC and SDH at this meeting. And we've done it again this year. So, and we gained a new mascot as well. So this is Dave. He's not quite as destructive as he was this time last year. He's calmed down a little bit, but he's always willing to meet people. He couldn't be here today. He apologises. So on to this year, as you see, the list is getting slightly longer. We have just launched our 4th generation website, as you are probably fully aware. And we gained another big lottery award, this time for Project Connect, which is going to sort of reinvigorate the local area meeting thing again, but with trained volunteers. So there'll be regional representatives around the UK who are trained and equipped to run these meetings on a regular basis. They'll still be informal. You know, there might be the odd medical speaker who comes along, but they should be relatively informal. Just be nice to go to in between big information days, or for people who can't travel and get to these meetings. We've just also received funding for a sporadic MTC event, which is going to be held in July. And AMEND and the Net Patient Foundation, we do generally work together every so often, and definitely on the International Net Cancer Alliance we work together as well. But we're starting a net research roadshow. So we're travelling around, and we recently went to visit Raki at the Francis Crick Institute, and we're going to visit another team at UCL in June to basically see what everyone's up to and really find out, because there doesn't seem to be, you know, nobody kind of knows what the other hand's doing. So we're hoping to try and gain some information and to put it out there so that people, maybe even researchers, can connect with one another perhaps. And Project Rollercoaster preparation is ongoing as well, and that will be held, there's a workshop that will be held in October. So if you've got any young people or teens in the family affected by the conditions, then get in contact, because it's a free day as well at Alton Towers. I think it was, isn't it? Alton Towers? Yeah. And there's not too much onerous work required on the Saturday. Sunday, you get free rein in the park, which will be absolutely brilliant. So we're looking for volunteers for that. So much going on. I've got a second slide for 2018. We've joined another European reference network group, this time for endocrinology. So that does incorporate the MEN conditions, SDH and so on. And the MEN1 and pancreatic neuroendocrine tumour research registry has launched. That's out of Oxford, but will be national. And so that has launched now, and you'll be able to find ways to learn more and get involved on the research table there. The kids' cartoons were translated into Dutch. The Dutch group loved them so much that we got them translated at not a massive cost. And in the future, if we do it again, there should be a bit of income for AMEND from doing that, which is great. And it gets the word out to other people, other nations. And we organised some fundraising for this year. I will bang on about these all day, as will other people. The Yorkshire Three Peaks Trek. It's the Yorkshire Three Peaks, not the really, really big ones. It's the slightly smaller ones. And it's over a weekend, so you've got 2 days to climb them. And we'd love you to come along. If you feel up to that, then do sign up. We need to get everyone signed up by the 25th of May. So time is running out. We really need some more people on that. And the Black and Gold Ball, which I've already mentioned, which is on the 22nd of September, which is here in London, Charing Cross Hotel, beautiful ballroom. So if you miss the chandeliers from Bristol, they've got loads. Fantastic. So for the future, next year's annual information day, we're planning Sheffield, Saturday, 11th of May. You can already book via the website, because that's how efficient we are. We will be, through the workshop for the young people, we'll be developing resources for young adults. So hopefully that'll help with things like transition from paediatrics to adult services. Local area meetings, as I've mentioned, by regional representatives, they will be launched. Actually, most of our regional representative volunteers are coming for training in July, and then they'll be let loose. So keep an eye out on the website. We'll be letting you know about those. And we've got to really expand our resources for ACC, MTC and SDH now. So hopefully you'll see a bit more happening on that front too. So again, I know I've already said a few thank yous, but for 15 years of AMEND, we must thank the founders, Liz and Emily, for all their work, because I don't think anyone who sets up a charity really knows what they're letting themselves in for. But the fact that we're still here 15 years later and it's growing and growing and we're doing more and more is testament to their determination to get it set up in the first place. All our trustee board members over the years, a lot of people stay with us for many, many years on the trustee board. Some think it's down to the cake. I think it's just because actually they're quite fun meetings as well. There is a serious side to it all, but actually we try and make everything as fun as we can. To all the mad fundraisers, I mean, there are some lunatics amongst us, obviously, who like to run marathons and crazy, crazy people, but without them, we really wouldn't be anywhere near where we are now. And anyone who's ever contributed to newsletters, films, so it's not just fundraising, but just getting involved in a project and things like that, writing your story for the newsletter. Everyone loves to read the stories. Not many people like to write them. So if you ever feel you've got a few minutes and you want to write your story and let us have it, then it'll be read. And anyone who's ever provided feedback from anything we've done, but particularly information days. And so please do give us your feedback forms at the end of the day, because they really are valuable. And I've done a kind of a collage of all the wonderful people we've met. But you know, I could do so many slides with so many photos. There are just some wonderful characters on here, and a big shout out to our treasurer, because that's not an easy job. Catherine does a fantastic job sort of stopping me spending too much money, basically. I get told off regularly. But there's lots of other people up there. You know, Dave's made it. A current chair, who some of you may know, Barney Harrison, is up there as well, who, even though he's retired now, is still involved, so which is fabulous. And Helen's there, Raj Thacker's there. This is, I think, a couple of years ago here, so you might be on there, you never know. Loads of fundraisers, and I'll give a shout out to my husband, who I'm trying to knock out there with a right hook. Quite often deserves it, but actually, you know, I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for him as well. So those are all the people that, some of the people that we need to thank for 15 years of AMEND, and hopefully we'll go on for another 15 years. So thank you very much.